Hi, good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Minority Report. I'm Marlon David, your host on the program this evening, and we are set to have some very, very interesting and riveting discussions. Some invited guests going to be with us this evening, and the program caters to a lot of education today and exposing us to some of the developments that we can probably aspire towards that is taking place throughout the region and internationally. So let's get the administrative stuff out of the way. For those who are viewing, you can look at this program, participate on it on the Tobago Updates website, the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, or the Tobago Updates Facebook page. Those of you who have subscribed to Amplia, the Amplia network, you can sit in the comfort of your living room and turn your television on to channel 102. That's channel 102 on the Amplia network. And you can view this program live. The only challenge you have with that is that you're not able to comment on the live as well to participate in that manner. However, if you want to do so, you can either send us a WhatsApp on 284-6597. That's 284-6597 or 356-8833. 356-8833, or you can log on to the Facebook page and be able to comment and be a part of the conversation that is taking place on the live. If you're joining us and you're now joining us this evening, we want to encourage you to share the live, get as many persons involved in this program. And I must say, many people actually do watch the program, just not on the live link or show their names or numbers. And I want to say thanks to those who have consistently supported the program over the last year and a half. We have crossed already. And I'm saying this against the backdrop of sometimes when I check back on the link, I'm seeing up as much as 10,000, 11,000 views. So you are all contributing in making the program worthwhile and contributing to the development of the program or the continued development. Joining me this evening in studio, as per usual, I have my co-host, who, even though he would have indicated that he would not have been available, as soon as the turn starts, God has it that he consistently is available. So joining me this evening, I have Senator Lawrence Hislop in studio. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Marlon. Good evening, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm doing fine. Had a hectic day, but I am here to give support to the program and to also be part of the discussion this evening. Look forward to a robust discussion, and I will not be here next week, God willing. I could safely say that because I got my schedule today. So the Senate begins its budget debate on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday.
I didn't like how you stressed on
So I will not.
You had a hectic day and you still came.
All right. Could we get into the program so that my hectic day could continue? Because it's good to be able to have health and strength to have hectic days. Yeah.
Right. Thank God for that. I want to take the opportunity to say good evening as well to the minority leader, who presently is somewhat omnipresent. Because 1 minute he's in one place and the next he's somewhere else doing quite a lot right now to get a lot done. So good evening, Assemblyman Kelvin Morris. I want to also shout out the Minority Councillor, Petal Daniel Benoit, who was with us 2 programs back, did an amazing job and took a little time out, so good evening as well, Minority Councillor. And for all those of you who are logged on, we look forward to the continued support as we get into the show. This evening, before we actually dive into our first guest, we have a lineup this evening of some very, very interesting conversation. We saw the Blue Food Festival on Sunday, Your thoughts?
Well, I can't really comment on it because unfortunately I could not be there. I chose to spend some time with a friend of mine who celebrated his 80th birthday during the week.
Very
It
good.
would have been on Wednesday. So he had a Thanksgiving and celebration on Sunday. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to be at the Blue Food Festival because I chose to spend some time in the company of my very good friend, Mr. Brother Patrick Randolph, however we call him, Phillips, from Prospect. He has some children who some people in Tobago might know. So his daughter is June Phillips of Massey fame, and his other daughter is Dawn Phillips of phone card fame on the port. And yeah, he has two sons, Reginald and Hans. Hans is one of Tobago's premier tour guides and maxi operators. Reggie's into heavy equipment. I'm not advertising for them, but I chose to spend some time there instead of at Blue Food because family and friends are important, and when people achieve these sort of milestones, it's good to spend time with them. But from the footage that I saw that we had a bumper event at I don't know if, when we say bumper in this
let me put it caution you would use a bumper.
It appeared to be a very successful event. Once again, the Lansome Bloody Bay community, I want to congratulate them on celebrating 25 years of I remember of hosting the Blue Food Festival. I remember
you were there for the first one?
Yeah, I was fortunate back in the day when the Blue Food Festival was up at the Methodist school grounds just right behind there. I was there for the first Blue Food Festival. And I have supported off and on. I haven't, not one of those persons that would have gone every year, but I have been to the festival a few times, and I want to compliment and congratulate the Lansome Village Council, I believe it was, that initially came up with the idea of the Blue Food Festival, and gave a significant product to Tobago.
Yeah.
That is now no pun intended, but is now a staple on the festival's calendar. So I want to congratulate them and give kudos that the event continues to grow every year from strength to strength. I think this is the second year back after COVID.
After COVID,
right? So I want to congratulate the Lansome Bloody Bay community for once again having a successful event, an event that is really one of the staples on the Tobago calendar.
Nice. Well said. I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate Trinidad and Tobago national team.
Oh, yes.
Those guys did an amazing job to qualify, to come out of that game with a win.
Because they have a match on tonight.
Yeah, they have one tonight.
But on top of the group, to advance to the quarterfinals.
On top of the group. So, guys, you have our support, and I mean the support of our Twin Island nation on your shoulders. So continue doing a good job. So this evening we're gonna go right into it. We have a very special guest going to be joining us via the virtual platform, and we're going to be discussing a bit of health matters. And joining us to carry that conversation, we have former Secretary of the Division of Health, Dr. Agatha Carrington. Welcome to the Minority Report, Doc. How are you?
Not bad at all. Pleasant evening to Tobago and pleasant evening to Trinidad and Tobago. Happy to be here.
Nice to see you, man. You're beaming. Your smile lit up the room.
Yeah, it brightened up the screen there, man.
There's a lot to smile about.
Well, that is good. That is good.
Very, very good.
Yes.
Doc, we want to enter right off the cuff. Tell us a bit of what you've been doing what has been happening with you, and then we're going to start narrowing the conversation down a bit.
Well, coming out of the THA and getting into a situation where COVID was really I found myself having to work for an international agency dealing with drugs and pharmaceuticals. Was quite an interesting opportunity which occurred days after I came out of the THA, which I felt I didn't want to refuse because it allowed me an opportunity to do some work that I would not have been able to do if I were in the THA at the time. So I've been working on, or I have worked on, a health impact plan for Trinidad and Tobago, and I look forward to its implementation. And later, another opportunity to do some other work came up for the Commonwealth of Dominica. And so I have been drafting breast and prostate cancer policies for the Commonwealth of Dominica. Apart from that, I have been in some private engagements trying to build out what I call a legacy, as we have been doing in the THA, because as I look at the different clips that you were sharing earlier, I couldn't help but that's something to smile about, because indeed a legacy has been left for the benefit of generations to come, in terms of some of those areas that you would have shared. And so that I am building a legacy as well in my private space, trying to fill gaps that exist on the island for more so specialist care. So I've been doing that and really enjoying that, because it allows me to provide that which the public system cannot provide at this time. So that's what I've been doing. And very interesting work at that. I hope to launch the survivorship in cancer book. It should have been launched this month, but there are too many things happening, and I hope to do it early in the year. So that's what I have been doing.
You seem to be very, very busy. It is definitely not reflecting in any way on your age.
Yeah.
Nothing slowing you down. You seem to be more active than many of us who are many years your junior. I don't know what is the key to that.
Yeah, I had a birthday on Monday last.
Wow.
Yeah, on the 9th.
Wow. We'll extend belated birthday greetings, man. From the Minority Report. Yeah.
You mentioned being a part of a project, building out a plan for the Commonwealth of Dominica, and it's an area that I wanted to touch on a bit in terms of regionally. You spoke about coming out of COVID, that post-COVID period. I know that you have your hands in many pots, even regionally. What are some of the challenges that we've seen in this particular area of health, especially, that many others are experiencing in terms of our region that is impacting still today?
Could I, before I point to that, prepare sort of context for this discussion? Because for all our developing countries, the context is the same, where we face the same types of challenges, the non-communicable diseases we face. We all faced COVID. We all have signed on to the Sustainable Development Goals and committed by the year 2030 to, improve healthcare. We say no one should be left behind. Notwithstanding the challenges we have, we're still saying no one should be left behind. And so in the context of that, where we have set some broad goals, and in this instance for healthcare, we are talking about health and well-being. And so any discussion has to be located within that context. Similarly, in the national situation, national grid, our Vision 2030 is in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals to the extent that some of our themes point to much or in alignment with the same, where in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, we focus on and indeed we have been doing so, putting people first. We've been doing that. We've been looking at good governance and service excellence. And so to that extent, in the international scene, there's a focus, and that in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, we have a focus in terms of our Vision 2030. And then in terms of the Ministry of Health itself, there is also a focus on how do we improve the health of our population. What do we focus on? We must focus on non-communicable diseases. We must focus on all the issues that will assist us with health promotion and disease prevention, while at the same time addressing the matters concerning treatment care. We must focus on research and all of that. So I want to locate the discussion, the issues that you're raising within that frame, because it allows us to give it the kind of prominence it requires. So now to answer what we're seeing, in all our countries, we are challenged by NCDs, in all our countries. So in the case of Dominica, where there is there was a need identified to look at what's happening with prostate and breast cancer, we've been asked, a colleague and myself, to build out treatment and care protocols for them, for breast and prostate, because those are important areas. While being there, you notice several things. The same challenges in terms of efficiency issues. So emergency room challenges, wait times, and so on seem to be the same. Issues with respect to inpatient care, outpatient support, and all of those, the lack of integration between primary and secondary care, and those things, the HR challenges, the gaps in skills. And so they're quite the same, and therefore any response that we have to deal with must take into account, in the case of primary care, how do we align that, and how do we integrate primary care into secondary care such that you have this seamless arrangement such that the outcomes would be improved. So they're quite the same. Also, when we speak, and even in the developed countries, the wait time issues and the challenges with staffing, the challenges with turnaround time, those. But in our own country, I want to stick with my Trinidad and Tobago space, if you don't mind, just to narrow it in to speak about what is happening or what ought to be happening in the case of Trinidad and Tobago. So let me just look at Tobago space for the time being.
Yeah.
And the challenges that the TRHA is facing. And so the TRHA is facing an issue with health leadership. Let me just start there. There is that challenge, one, because you ought to have trained, properly equipped, and ready professionals to lead. Health leadership requires the skills and talents to lead the organization. And there have been frequent changes. Turnover itself does not assist in terms of how you marshal the staff to do the work that is required. And so that is an area that has to be addressed. But more than that, let me just point to the issue of hospital operations to say that for any population, they require a service that is second to none, whether public or private. And therefore, when any citizen, any Tobagonian, go to the Scarborough Hospital or the Roxborough Hospital for that matter, the expectation is that they will access good care. So access to care is important. The attitude of the health professionals, that's important. The wait time must not be as protracted as it is. And the quality of care is an area to be looked at. So laboratory reports must come back in time. If you have to have radiological assessments, that must be done, and the turnaround time must be such that you can make a timely diagnosis and make a decision in terms of the treatment and care for the particular client. And so the efficiency of the emergency room is important. The systems and processes in there need to be reviewed such that we have the kinds of improvement and that you don't have the number of complaints where persons can wait all night for a particular kind of service. It ought not to be, because the population size is manageable. And so if we have to speak of anything, we have to look at hospital operations and try to deal with that, while at the same time address the matters with respect to primary prevention, health promotion and disease prevention in our primary care centers, like in our health centers. What do we do there? Education, the awareness, nutrition and support and counseling, so persons can improve their lifestyles. We point to healthy lifestyles all the time, but persons need to be encouraged, because we celebrate food in Tobago. And therefore, we have all these activities. And so, yes, you can celebrate food, but the right foods.
Correct.
And therefore, if we are to pay some attention to what we are delivering in primary care, what we are delivering in the secondary care, we will see improvement in the outcomes that we more than we are seeing now. I want to say, and it's not a boast, we have had and we have put systems, and we had put systems, baby, in place. And if those continue, or if they have not been interrupted, we will see improvement in the outcomes that we want to see, because we want a healthy population. And how do we get that? Some persons must take responsibility for their health, yes. But as a government, as an island, we must also encourage the population to do better. And therefore, much of what ought to be happening is that, so that people can have the healthy lifestyles about which we speak. Because what is the point of investing in the way we have invested, and persons do not or do not enjoy a healthy life in this space? And therefore, my encouragement has always been to focus in the first instance on health promotion and disease prevention. So we're doing that. And if we're not doing that, we should do that much more. And make sure that there's this seamless, this integration between primary and secondary. So I can move from the primary care center, I'm referred to the hospital, I access my care, if I'm in the outpatient clinic, and all of these things should happen seamlessly for the small population that we have. I just want to put that as an open sort of thing, because it is the crux of the problem that we face. Because if you would note, and I saw on the some of the bullets that were put up, the issues that we've had with strokes and diabetes, and having to set up a stroke and diabetes center, had to do with us looking at the data and recognizing that you cannot have a situation where you have 14 strokes a month, right? Can't have it. So that what we try to do is to say, could we intervene? Those who already have the strokes, we treat with them. But in the primary care setting, could we encourage them in terms of the way they eat and so on? So we minimize the numbers that are coming in. Similarly, when we have sort of look at what is happening with our men, we have had to look at men and say, look, we want to improve your care, we want to improve your health. Is there any way we can have an intervention that allows us to assess our men early and we treat with them early, rather than waiting until they get to the point where they come into our secondary care centers? And so what I'm in fact saying to you is that in our population, the way we refocus, we disaggregate the population. We say, okay, if we focus, yes, primary, secondary and all that, but you go deeper into it and you say, look, for our men, what do we see happening? What is the data saying? For our women, what is the data saying? For children, what is the data saying? For elderly, what is the data saying? And you design the response to support or to intervene in terms of what the data is pointing you to. Hence the reason for the legacy and the investment in the pink room and blue room,
Yeah.
Right.
because it is saying that we ought to look at the data in the way we should if we want to change the what the profile is saying to us. And that's one of the triggers to us doing those things, because in doing so you improve the lives of our men or women or children or elderly and the like. So I'm just throwing that into the debate to point to some of
Lawrence, you
those
wanted to?
challenges that
But Doc, the question I have to ask is that we spend so much resources on our primary and secondary care. How then do we move that conversation or that spend from the primary and secondary care to before you get to that stage? I think one of the challenges we may be having, I know the education drive is there, towards educating our men and women about seeing about themselves. But if I'm wondering if we are to look at it from a holistic standpoint, where we even go into the schools to have a partnership with the Ministry of Education or the Division of Education, to have that sort of synergistic conversation that have our young people and our children be more concerned about their health from a long-term standpoint than, okay, I'm young, I'm fine, I wouldn't get sugar, I ain't gonna get high blood pressure because I'm young. Not understanding that what we eat now and what we do now determines, as we have the old saying in Tobago, it's not the same day green leaf drop of water, it just turn yellow. So, so how do we then,
so
yeah.
so that is the whole matter of collaborating between, or collaboration between sectors is important for delivery, because the health sector cannot do it on its own. And what you're saying is quite right. There's a role to be played by education, by agriculture in terms of food and food security, education in terms of that, and the earlier stage interventions for school children. Yes, that is so. But we aren't as good in terms of the way we collaborate. And so the collaboration has to be looked at in terms of the model we're using. So education might have its budget for certain activities, health would have its budget, but there's no reconciliation in terms of what is to be invested by each, such that we can get the outcome we're seeking. So there is that, because we have been doing some work with, just as you're saying, but it is not consistent. It is not as robust to bring about the difference we want to see. So I take the point. We've been trying that, but there's much more work to be done in terms of the persons who have to lead this particular charge to ensure that we get the kind of outcome. And yes, there's a role for all of the sectors, but as you would know, persons' priorities, the areas that they focus on in each ministry, they're not the same. If for schools, their priority may be focusing on violence in schools or something else, they won't be talking to us about collaborating in terms of improving healthcare. So those things. Now, even to now, we had a system where for the planning process, the national planning process, we had some discussions at a point in time when the budget, before the budget is finalized, where all sectors would have come together in a massive meeting and doing some work. That has not been happening with the kind of frequency, for the same reason that I have identified, because persons have their own priorities, and therefore you have some challenges. But I agree with what you're saying. That is the area that should engage our attention, because we are talking about the same pool, the same children that are in the schools are the same children that are coming to our health system for care, the same
Yeah.
children that need good food, the same cohort. So therefore, we have to pay attention to them. I certainly agree with what you're saying, Senator.
Dr. Carrington, I want to Just steer the conversation a bit here in this direction. I heard you mention earlier, and I'm glad that you touched on it, the development and the introduction of the blue room and the pink room and so on. And so a lot of what was put in place, especially under your tenure, was greatly research driven. So it was data driven in terms of the planning and implementation process. Where do you see Tobago's trajectory now in terms of health focus? And clearly we've strayed from those moorings. And what do we need to do essentially to get back on track to be able to effectively address the concerns that are being raised now that we're seeing popping up, even in terms of our children?
So may I say to you that in the design of the Tobago House of Assembly, where we've had a division of health, wellness, well now social protection, hitherto it was family development. Its role focus or should have been focusing on policy planning, regulatory, those kinds of functions. And in that, its main task is to review, one of the main tasks, I must say, was to review the profile of the population, identify those priorities, and the overarching planning occurs there, and that is done in alignment with or with the inclusion of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, because that organization is required to implement. And so the role of the Division of Health should be just that: planning policy, regulating, driving all the research. And so that will inform what the plans are for the Tobago population. And that's what we have been, we in my tenure, that is what we have done. We've been focusing on that, ensuring that data drives decision making. So all of those activities that would have occurred, that is now legacy that we've left for the Tobago population. It's because of what we were seeing with the data. So it is not by chance that you have a Roxborough hospital. We didn't just get up one day and say we like this one and build it. There were gaps in service delivery in East Tobago. And you will notice in East Tobago, now the terrain, you may say it's a small island, but when something happens in the East, it does take you some time. The transportation is not as efficient and so on. And you had to address access. And so access to the residents or the population in East Tobago had to be addressed, both in terms of primary and in terms of secondary care. And so the design of the facility took into account improving the primary care service as well as the secondary care service with that 24-bed facility, supported by, of course, what is happening at Scarborough General. And that is why that has been done. Everything data-driven to ensure that the population benefits. Access is important. When people are ill, they must have access to care. And so that is one example. If you look at Moriah, where Moriah is located, if you are ill for little things, primary care interventions and so, you needed a Moriah Health Center, not the one that was there eons ago, but you needed an upgraded facility that can respond to the needs of persons on that side.
Yeah.
Yes? And so you had to treat with access there as well and service delivery. So data research, data collection and use of data is important for the Division of Health. Also, the public health response and oversight for the public health response is important, because surveillance for diseases, that's an important role, because you have to see what is happening, what's affecting your population, and how could we respond. Also, in terms of waste management and all of these things, the division has to play that overarching role in terms of directing what happens in the rest of the sector. And that is what ought to be happening. I mean, the extent to which it's happening now there's a question there. But if we do not refocus, we will not see the improvements we want to see in the Tobago population.
Wow, I think the way that you've explained this put a lot into context and perspective, because the way that you connected the variables. Many times people hear health and you think hospital, you think doctor, but it's a much wider. There are a lot of other factors that influence what are the outcomes that you cater to, and yes, I would also say, and I agree with both you and Senator Hislop, in terms of the collaborative effort that needs to be had. We are winding down. I don't know if Senator Hislop wants to ask a final question, but we want to give Doc the opportunity to give her closing remarks.
Yeah, because I think what I addressed tonight, for me, was critical, because we always hear the issues when they have arisen, but how do we prevent them? Because if I go back to the days of when I was at school, you always had your district health visitors coming into the schools and having the necessary conversation with the children. I don't know if it really worked for most of us, because we still have a situation where we have NCDs crippling not only Trinidad and Tobago, but as you said, throughout the region. And for me, that was critical. I think our focus needs to be more collaborative, because I recognize that Prime Minister would have spoken to creating this avenue for the agriculture, for the farmers to be able to feed into the national school feeding program and so on, so that we have healthier children. And then when we have healthier children, that generation is supposed to be healthier. So I want you to, Doc, you could use that as your springboard for your closing remarks.
Yes, well, thank you very much. So could I, before I do that, just quickly point to the next normal?
Sure.
Yes?
Sure.
Just during COVID, we pointed to this new normal. But post-COVID, I just want to, as I wrap with what you're saying, also to include in terms of our planning, that having experienced a threat to lives and livelihood, that we now plan in terms of how do we respond if we were to have another pandemic. To the extent that we still have to treat with health and wellness. More than that, for frontliners, we still have to deal with, or more so in terms of mental health for them. And so the resources that are the human resources, in terms of giving them the support, the availability of resources in terms of that response, and the availability of resources in general is important for us as healthcare practitioners, because we have to look at the next normal. The next normal must take into account greater collaboration between sectors and a greater investment in terms of resources for all sectors, a reduction of waste where they exist across sectors, because there is that. We speak about resources and needing more, but there's also wastage that we must pay attention to. And of course, the whole matter of capacity building so that we can respond to what is happening. So whether we're training our persons, whether we are cross-fertilizing, be it the people in agriculture, be it the people in health, be it the people in education, so that there's some thread that runs through those key sectors that are important for the health of our population. And so I think as we go forward, I think we have to look at those intersectorial issues. We have to look at the health system issues. We have to look at those next normal issues where we have to treat with people and situations in different ways, because things are changing, there are new disease patterns, and therefore, as a sector, we have to be able to reposition ourselves such that we can do those. I think I would want to close with that and say that our work, indeed, it continues. We have done some legacy work. I want to stick with that investment. We have invested quite a bit in our population, our Trinidad and Tobago population, because when you compare with others, we have done very well in terms of our health sector and other sectors.
Yeah.
But that the work to be done now is to do the operations. And I'm not talking engineering now. I'm talking about how we bring them to the state, the kind of efficiency we want to see. How do we improve the service, the processes, such that persons can have the benefit, and therefore you can have healthier human beings, healthier population, to really benefit from the investment that government has been putting out for this population.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Agatha Carrington, for joining us. There is no limit, I think, to the wealth of information that can be shared coming across from you, and more so its relevance to the time that we are in now. I do look forward to sometime in the future when we can have you back.
Yeah,
with
for a
us.
longer conversation.
Hopefully in person, in studio.
I live between islands. It's just at the end
Well,
of the
you
day,
can
so
just
that's
let
how-
us know when you are here, and we can
Yeah.
make the arrangements. But definitely, I need to have you back. I think this discussion is not just informative, but necessary for every household in Tobago to be a part of. So I really want to extend our deepest and sincere appreciation for joining us this evening. Senator, you want to close off?
I as well. The conversation this evening was very informative. One of the key things that jumped out at me in this conversation is the legacy that has been left, and a legacy that was built on the data, and a legacy that will stand the test of time, and redound to the benefit of the population of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. So, Dr. Carrington, thank you again. Continue with your good work and your good service, not only to Trinidad and Tobago, but to the region. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, and to you as well.
So, folks, we go to a short break, and when we come back, we head right into our next set of discussions with our guest in studio. Another very, 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 very important piece of information to be shared. So stay locked on, and we'll be right back.
The countdown is on
for the greatest carnival weekend in the world.
It's time for
Tobago Carnival, Friday, October 27th
to Sunday 29th. Come witness the release of the revelry and the ritual of the road in Tobago.
This our week carnival.
This is our week carnival.
It's time
For Tobago Carnival, ready yourself for the ritual of the road.
Log on to welcometobago.com for more details.
Tobago Carnival, Friday, October 27th
to Sunday 29th.
You know, who would I ever believe, Jessica could take care of a child,
I know, right? I'm a kinship foster parent to my nephew Malik.
Papa, you remind me of my grandmother, you know, when she used to take care of my cousins.
If I didn't step in, I don't know where he would have ended up. Plus, I get support from Children's Authority, training, and counseling.
But Jessica, you not married?
That doesn't matter once you have a safe home and you're related to the child. You're good.
So they just gave money to do this?
Yeah, they do give me some money.
So, Auntie, you can buy a lamb I gave you for me?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Malik, but that money's to take care of you. Okay, smubble up, beans.
I will not try. Mommy, you can buy.
No.
Wait, I didn't even finish my sentence.
About Lamborghini, you could get lamb stew for lunch.
Auntie Jessica could only come when you come in, because all them does do is talk people business.
Malakay Emily call it going on the bed.
But mommy, the boy don't even live here.
Yeah, go to your bunkers.
What? Bunkers? Where's that?
I think I'm getting pretty good at this.
LP, settled up, just chat. Just chat.
Any drink at the bar, give me plenty. Calibre liquor shot at the century. Look, now the thing start. Fill up me drinks to me heart and me send shots.
On Saturday. Saturday, 21st October 2023 at 4 a.m. Enter The Hideout.
Boy, play rhythm.
Hideout. The Cooler Jam.
I just want to get my head lashed up. Think I'm playing this carnival? All I want is love.
This is the party you've been waiting for. Cooler than ever. Join the No Behavior crew and revel at the Argyle Waterfall compound. Jam by the water. Jam by your cooler at the only Juve party in the East. Hideout, the Cooler Jam.
Get over here. Get over here. Tobago Carnival, Caribbean Vibes presents Tequila Sunset. Tequila Sunset, October 27th. You know what you're doing. Scarborough Esplanade from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. It's a cooler fete like no other. Bring your squad and we'll take care of the vibe with your top TNT and New York DJs, surprise guest artists. Tequila Sunset will be an epic event you will never forget. Early bird tickets are $199 TT or $30 US. Get your tickets online on islandetickets.com or frontlineticketing.com. For more info, call 475-6218 or 754-7344. And New York, 917-561-9742. All drinks must be in plastic bottles and no ice or chaser allowed. Tequila Sunset, October 27th, Scarborough Esplanade.
Hi folks, and we are back in studio after a short break. Right now we're going to change gears a bit and we're going to head into another part of this evening's discussion. As we would have advertised, we were going to be discussing health matters and also a bit of agriculture in Tobago and what has been happening. So before we actually invite our guest in studio who is already locked in, let's go to a short clip. And when we get back from that clip, we're going to introduce our guests and proceed with our discussions.
Today, it's a signal pleasure to be here representing Senator the Honorable Haji Kazim Hussein. Agro-processors can access up to $100,000 in grant funding, and you don't have to be a registered farmer.
The Agricultural Finance Support Program, also known as the Agro Incentive Grant, which enables access to grant funding of up to $100,000, was specifically designed to assist farmers in attaining new techniques, equipment, technology, upgrade and expansion of existing infrastructure.
This is all about modernizing farming for the people who really love farming and are serious about developing your business and contributing to Tobago.
All of us spread the message. Go and empower another farmer who might have the ability to apply. Go out there, meet your constituents, your burgesses, extend this grant opportunity to everybody who you know doing something in agriculture, whether you are making juice. I think you deserve this grant funding to help you to reach a commercial level.
I feel encouraged. I'm excited. I don't know how else to explain it.
Let's jump in the conversation.
Yeah. This is great, man. Joining us this evening, folks, we have the Minister in the Ministry of Agriculture, Senator the Honorable Avinash Singh. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Blessed good evening to my honorable colleague, Senator Lawrence Hislop. Blessed good evening to you and all your viewers. It's definitely a pleasure to be here to speak a little bit, have a little chat about the agricultural sector and what we are doing, not only in Trinidad, but in Tobago. So it's my pleasure to be here tonight.
But I want to kick it off one time. You said not only in Trinidad, but in Tobago. There's the general air and atmosphere that central government isn't doing much in Tobago in terms of investment. So when this information came to light, I was thrilled. I was excited, not only to see the type of investment, but in a sector in Tobago, which even as we speak, many of the stakeholders are crying out that their needs are not being catered to. Tell us a bit about this particular program.
Right. So in 2018, thereabout, the government set about to make provision for agriculturalists, farmers, agro-processors to access out of the ordinary. Now, picture you have an agricultural sector with 92 categories of incentives and subsidies that exist. We went outside the box and we made provision on that first occasion of $20 million, the Ministry of Finance, for all farmers in Trinidad and Tobago to be able to access grant funding up to $100,000 per applicant for projects really centered around climate smart technology, farm upgrades, agro entrepreneurs who wants to go into downstream value added, sanitation facilities at your farm. You're talking about projects that farmers would not normally be able to access grants and incentives under the normal arrangements. And we extended this project throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And to date, as of the last time I checked, over 200 applicants, both in Trinidad and Tobago, would have benefited from the program in the tune of, I believe it's around just over 22 or $23 million grant funding. Now, the name says it all. It's a grant, which means once you meet the criteria and you meet your obligation, you are not required to pay it back. You get this check in the form of cash to upgrade your farm, and then you are able to invest in your agricultural project. So the most recent delivery, and that is the video that you would have featured in the beginning of your segment, was in Tobago, where I think it was 18 applicants out of that cycle would have been Tobagonian applicants, and we saw it fit to come across Tobago, and to hand deliver those checks to those applicants, to really see persons benefiting in all areas. I was so happy, very, very proud to come to Tobago and see the level of innovation, see the level of investment, see the added value that Tobagonian, my brothers and sisters in Tobago, is putting towards their farm. A lot of niche projects, some new ideas, that farmers would be able to benefit from, agro-processors would be able to benefit from in Tobago. In a nutshell, that is what this project was really geared towards, outside of being a registered farmer. Because once you are a registered farmer, immediately you are entitled to 92 categories of incentives and subsidies. And those are the traditional incentives and subsidies. Some examples: farmers can purchase your vehicles for transportation. And we saw a lot of fishermen in Tobago accessing boat engines, boats, nets, all of these types. Those are your traditional incentives. The agro incentive grant really targets those persons. For example, let's say a fisherman who wants now to add value to his project. So he's out there, he's catching fish, and he wants to go into smoking, into salting, into cold storage, into packaging, meeting those HACCP standards, putting in an ice machine at his location, to really add value, to be engaged in employment opportunities for more people, for bringing young people involved into the sector. And then you have a number of persons in Tobago would have benefited in those niche projects. The ground provision, agro-processing, the value added in ground provision. You're talking about the cassava and sweet potato flour, farine, Benny-ball production. So all of these things we see as niche markets in Tobago, and we've been able to allow our brothers and sisters in Tobago to benefit.
So Minister, good to have you on the program, my brother. So you're saying to us that if I am in the business of the local Tobago confectioneries, your Benny-ball, your sugar cake, your nut cake, that if I want to take my business to the other level of packaging and marketing my product to a better standard, that this incentive is an incentive that I can apply for?
That's right. And the two streams, because persons feel that you have to be a registered farmer only, and especially the applicants in Tobago, are real innovation. I mean, as I said, I was really happy to see the persons making the confectionery, the sugar cake, the Benny-ball, the kurma, all of these things. I mean, I actually had kurma made from, beetroot flour. I mean, all of these very innovative products that persons, once you are doing something in agro-processing, you have your small business, you're registered as a small entrepreneur, you may want to expand, you may want to buy modern machinery and equipment, you may want to buy, your stainless steel culinary tools, you may want to buy machines that could add a little more commercialization in your project. You may want to convert a larger volume of provision into flour. You may want to go into, your soup packs, your juices, all of this that on adding value. And then you have the innovative projects such as climate smart technology. You are planting your hot peppers out in the open. I saw my goodly sister and minister, MP Kojo, showing off yesterday in World Food Day preparation with her pimentos and all her produce. So let's say you're a hot pepper farmer, or you're growing your local seasoning, and now you want to add value to that. You want to package it. You want to put it in a nice bottle, a nice labeled project to access a foreign market, an international market. We are saying that you come forward, you fill out these forms, you propose your project, you provide your invoices based on the machine you want to buy. You may want to buy a dehumidifier, you may want to buy a commercial grade blender, stainless steel tables, wash sinks, cold storage, packaging machinery, packaging material, to take the next level. This grant is for people like you all who want to really add value and to capitalize on what you are already doing and take it to the next level. So you're doing your Benny-ball, you're doing your local produce, you're making your local sugar cake, your fudge, whatnot, and you are supporting your local entrepreneurs in your area, because I saw kurma being made from breadfruit flour, from cassava flour, from sweet potato flour. So, it's not just wheat anymore. You have that level of innovation. and breadfruit chips. So you're doing your local chips. You want to compete with those packaged import substitution, right? You're making your local sauces, your hot sauce, your all of these niche areas of investment. You come, you make your application, you source the items you want to purchase to the tune of $100,000. So I saw some people going through the process and being granted 40,000, 50,000. And I'm saying to you, hey, you have up to 100,000. So you propose in your project the expenses up to 100,000 and you will be able to get the full $100,000. The same process you're going to use to get 20,000, do it for 100,000. Do it for 100,000 and get 100,000 worth of investment and value added into your project. You're doing layers, you're doing it on a small scale. The groceries want you to up your production. You may want to purchase a new stock of animal. You may want to build a new pen. You may want to expand your pen. You may want to put in, environmentally sensitive, environmentally friendly system to capture your waste, biodigesters. All of these things, will form part of investment into value added and preventing risk mitigation. So I saw some farmers, they're doing their open cultivation, traditional farming, and they are prone to flood. They are prone to drought. And we are saying to you, come up with a project to do hydroponics. I saw some really good hydroponics farmers in Tobago doing their seasoning, supplying the groceries with their fine thyme, their celery, their chive. You want to expand. You want to go into climate smart, hydroponics, drip irrigation, those stackable farms. You may not have the space and you want to go, you want to go vertical farm. And Senator Hislop, I was brought up in a way where, you were told that you need sunlight, you need soil to grow food. Now in this 21st century, you don't even need sunlight. You don't need soil.
Lighting.
Right? Artificial lighting, LED technology, container farming, right? Soil-less agriculture. There's aerial agriculture. So all of these, climate smart risk mitigation options, you can come now and access your $100,000 grant funding for those. Some persons are using the dragon fruit and making juice, right? Making ice creams. All of these innovative projects. I mean, I saw an applicant in Trinidad, in Mayaro, making butter from pumpkin butter. These things, I mean, you never even hear about these things. And right now, the demand is there for local. So we are saying the government has put the investment in place. And when we speak about the traditional agricultural incentives that the THA administers as well as the Trinidad and Tobago model. So a farmer, you're a registered farmer, you can purchase a tractor, an agricultural tractor to help with mechanization. And you will get back 20% of the cost, up to $50,000 on the purchase of a tractor. You could buy a pickup, 20% of the cost up to $40,000, plus a $5,000 off from the motor vehicle tax. You can purchase any equipment and machinery and get 50% of the cost back. You can purchase a water pump up to $20,000 and get back in any year. You can purchase your bushwhackers, your cutlass, your hoe, your shovel, your rake, and get back 50% of the cost expended. You can do your IPM, integrated pest management, right? Grow safe chemicals and get back up to $1,500 incentive. You could fence your pasture and get back a percentage of your costs. We are encouraging persons where predial larceny is concerned. You could put in a security system, a security device in your farm and get back 50% of the cost up to $30,000. You could fence your pasture. You can build your own pond. You can, all of these things, and Senator, as a person well inclined in the construction sector and the heavy equipment sector, you would know it is quite costly to build a pond.
Correct.
But we are saying the Ministry of Agriculture and the THA has mechanisms in place to administer a rebate system. So you come, you spend your money up front, you get back the grant. And the Agricultural Incentive Program, the Agro Incentive Grant, the good thing about this is you don't even have to have the money up front. You just propose that you want to do a project and you will be able to access the $100,000 in a check. You can even put it into ADB and use it as collateral to extend your financial reach. I've seen a lot of farmers, they put forward some beautiful projects that cost more than $100,000. The grant facility allows you to use it as collateral and get $200,000 access to, and you use the $100,000 as collateral, right? So I've seen persons who have, because of the weather pattern and the rough seas, have lost their boat. For some Tobagonians, I've seen they damaged, the boats got damaged, and if that is your bread and butter, you put forward a proposal of replacing your boat, and you get back $100,000 towards putting your boat. And some people have asked, so if it is I'm doing a project that costs more than $100,000, how much can I get? Well, the limit right now is capped at $100,000. So if you put forward a proposal for, let's say, $120,000, we will give you the full $100,000, and then it's up to you now to put your little rest to do your project. I've seen some persons do, automation on their layer pen. So gone are the days you have manual labor to feed your layers.
Correct.
They come in and they put in an automation system where a one-man operation can run an entire pen of 5,000 birds, and the feeding system, we fund that, right? We give you the funding to do that. So it's quite vast. And like I say, I'm really encouraging those who have received the grants. So my message to the Tobagonian recipients on the last occasion I was in Tobago was really to share the success story. Tell your neighbor, tell your farming community, hey, I've gotten 100,000, you could get one too, and this is how you get it. I've encouraged the MPs, I've encouraged the Secretary of Food Production, Ms. Pantin. I said, it's not just for PNM people. This is for everybody across the board. I'm a politician, so forgive me. And I am seeing in Trinidad, the majority of applicants is coming from my brothers and sisters from opposition constituencies. We are not discriminating. It's across the board. Everybody is getting, and it's really making a difference. It's making an impact. And now we are seeing a lot more young people coming forward and, wanting to get into agriculture because they are getting that startup. They're getting that grant to put forward their project, and it is giving them that security of putting a business model in place and being profitable.
So
that is
Minister, you spoke to the forms. So how does one who's interested in getting this grant funding, how do they go about applying for the grant?
So basically what you do is you go on the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries website, or you simply type the word Agro Incentive Grant on Google. The forms will come up. It's an 11-page document. The first 5 or 6 pages is just the information as to how to apply and the requirements. Very simple. And 6 pages is the application itself, your name, your address, your telephone contact, Now there's a section called Business Plan. All that is simply, you tell me what you want $100,000 to do. What you intend to use this $100,000 for. So if you put in a business plan on a 2-page document and you handwrite, I, Lawrence Histop, I have been planting cassava, and now I would like to add value to this cassava. I would want to convert it into chips or logs or flour. And I've sourced this machinery to convert the cassava into flour or a machine to peel, wash, and cut into fries and package, vacuum seal, put a label on it, and I need a cold storage because I need to store it somewhere. You just get the quotations for all the items you require. Your business plan is exactly what a business plan I've just outlined. That's very simple document that tells the ministry, the committee that will review in your application, what you intend to do with your $100,000 grant. You make your application. There are some regulatory requirements like for those who are applying as a registered farmer and you want to upgrade your farm, your farmer's card, you might have done a certificate or a short course in agriculture. All those things will help you. If you're a fisherman, your fisherman permit will help you. If you would have done a little seaman and waterfront course, a little first aid in at sea course, all those things will help you. You get your quotation from your supplier who, your boat engine, your cold storage, your smoker, your salter, your stainless steel bins, your coolers and what have you, your net, and you put forward your proposal and with your invoices, and then you package that into a nice envelope, you address it to the Agro Incentive Committee, Ministry of Agriculture, and we have made provision in every agricultural development bank location, including Tobago. You go and you drop off this application. You just sign a roster that says, I, Lawrence Histop, have delivered this package, which is my application form to ADB Tobago on the 1st of January 2024, and you sign. In that way, we have a record of you actually delivering an application. Then, periodically, we will have the committee come across the Tobago, empty these boxes with the applicant's application, bring it back to the committee. There's a committee set up at the Ministry of Agriculture with persons from different spheres. The most important person is a representative of the Ministry of Finance, because that is where the check is going to be cut from, not from the Ministry of Agriculture. You have a representative of the Agricultural Development Bank. You have a representative of NAMDEFCO. You have a representative of the Ministry's extension. And you have this committee set up to review your application. If your application for some reason is missing information, you might have forgot to put in your ID card, or you would have forgot to sign, or you forgot to get certain things copied and whatnot. They will contact you and they will give you the opportunity to provide the information. They will sit, they will score it, they will grade it. Those that will be approved, you will be contacted. Those that are missing information, you will also be contacted. And those that are not successful, you will be told, you wasn't successful on this occasion, but you could try back, and you will get advice in terms of how to properly do your application and be able to benefit from it. Simple process, and it is open.
I want two things I want to identify. One, it was encouraging to see in this last distribution where we saw both MPs for Tobago East and West as well present, as well as the secretary of the division. But we saw a number of persons who I think everybody in the agricultural industry in Tobago could have identified with. One of the pitfalls of many programs is that people always say that, it's only a certain group of people will get through. And I'm glad that you identify that it's across the board. And even when we saw the distribution there, as we did the little video clip prior, we saw a number of persons who were familiar as farmers that every farmer can identify with in terms of receiving the grant and so on. So that is definitely noteworthy, because people tend to connect with initiatives like this when they can relate to the other people who would have been benefactors or beneficiaries of this same thing.
We have the listing of the check distribution that was done in Tobago on the last occasion, without calling anybody's name, I would like to call out what these persons got grants for and the area they came from. So this is to give you an idea of the spread of the last distribution that took place. So we had an applicant from Plymouth, and he got $100,000 for agro-processing. We had another applicant from Lambo. This person got under fisheries, upgrade of boat engine equipment and refrigeration. He's also a registered fisherman with the THA. We got another one from Bethel to purchase and upgrade fishing equipment and facilities. Fisheries again, he got $100,000. We had a person from Daniel Trace, Camby, Tobago, and this is person under APRIS. Project is in alignment, and this funding was used to construct honey house construction. We had somebody from Dairy Farm, Goldsboro, Tobago for hydroponics, and this person wanted to expand their present hydroponic system to produce tomato, kale, shadow benny, chive, and celery. We had an application from Cedar Avenue, Milford Court, Bonaccord for shade house. This person wanted to install a shade house, a 70 feet by 17 feet, inclusive of drip irrigation. The greenhouse is to be used for lettuce and celery. You have Moriah, somebody for livestock, construction of 2 poultry pens, 100 feet by 40 each. You had Scarborough for fisheries, for engine upgrade and ice maker, freezer and material for fishing, 100,000. You had somebody from Coral Gardens, Boko, hydroponics, used for those stackable farms. So, they don't really have much space, and to maximize the output of their production, those stackable pots, and I even see a solar powered system for the farm to run the irrigation. So you're talking about climate smart green technology, right? You had Grenadian Hill, Bell Garden, livestock again, and this is to refurbish and upgrade a goat and sheep pen, 100,000. You had Pembroke, Main Ridge, Tobago, and this is for NFT system, right? To grow crops like tomato, cucumber, and to cover a shade house, to do a shade house. You had Otley Street, Wharf Trace, Scarborough. Again, another shade house construction. The person wanted to construct 2 shade houses, 100,000 granted. Belmont Farm Road, Mason Hall, agro-processing. This person wanted to buy cold storage equipment to use in handling of fresh meat and vegetables, right? You had Plymouth, Tobago, livestock again. They want to build a poultry slaughtering and processing house to support the on-farm broiler production by adding value. Again, you had Riseland Trace, Bethel, Tobago, upgrade of goat and sheep pens, security of animal, and complete the post-harvest processing facility. You had another person in Camby, Tobago, and this was to do a fruit pulping machine. Right, and this person would have sourced the equipment from the US, so they would have proposed a invoice in US currency. So we did the conversion and we gave them the full amount to get that fruit pulping machine to be able to produce at a commercial scale. So you can see is throughout Tobago, and there's a wide range of different agri-entrepreneurs, from fishermen to apiaries to hydroponics to livestock to juicers. All of these persons, we are encouraging in Tobago to come forward, make your application, and be a beneficiary of this grant.
So we have just about 2 minutes before we go out. Minister, I want you just to touch very briefly on one thing, and I know this is a question some people may have. Having received the grant, or the grant having been forwarded to various persons, is the ministry now involved in some sort of monitoring in terms of the process going forward, what you do with it, to ensure whether it's from a technical standpoint or otherwise, that the true benefit of the grant is served?
Excellent question. This actually touches my core because having given 230 something persons the tune of over $20 something million, what I didn't say is when you come on the day to collect your check, you will be signing a contractual obligation with the ministry. Because here it is, you are getting taxpayers' money and we need to be accountable and transparent. In that contract you are signing with the ministry, you now open yourself to monitoring and evaluation by the ministry to contact you, to visit your farm, and the same team that will be evaluating and monitoring you, that would have assessed your application is the team that will be visiting you. And when they visit you, they will call you, they will say, okay, well, Mr. So-and-so, you haven't received a grant, we just touching base, do you require assistance, do you need technical support, when and how far are you with your project, what is the status, we would like to pay you a visit. When they come, they'll be looking at your project, they will be asking you to provide receipts to supplement your purchase that you would have proposed. So if you said you was going to buy 5 cold storage facilities from, let's say, Quartz or Standard or whoever sell refrigeration devices, you have to produce your receipts and you have to show where those items are in relation to evaluation and monitoring. Because failure, and that's what I'm saying, while it's a grant and you don't have to pay it back, if you breach, which I suspect nobody will be in breach because everybody wants to follow the law and follow the process, if you are in breach, the ministry has the mechanism of recovering and asking you to pay back that grant so that somebody else who is in need can benefit from the grant. But like I said, I hope and I really advise farmers and entrepreneurs and agro-processors, if you say you want to expand your farming operation or your entrepreneurship, do it. Don't take the money and, you say you're going to buy a greenhouse, but then you go and buy a taxi instead. We will be looking to monitor and evaluate your performance, and you will have to account for the spend. So monitor and evaluation is there, and periodically the ministry's team will contact persons to get a status update, to make a visit, and to follow up, and even give them supplemental advice and support. Because sometimes people get the grant and then they might change their mind and they want to, rescope their project or add a different piece of equipment. So the ministry's team will always be there to support and offer the extension services.
Great. You want to go out?
No, Minister, we want to thank you. I think the information, as we said, we out of time, but there's so much more we could have touched on. I wanted to touch on what is the vision of the ministry going forward for this fiscal year with the allocation and all the plans that are in place. But I know we have debate starting on Friday, so it will give you your 40 minutes to between you and Minister Osai. We have 80 minutes of agriculture in the Senate, so it's going to give us ample time to hear what the ministry has in store. But we want to thank you for spending the time with us tonight, for sharing the information. We could see in the comment thread there are persons, and even some persons WhatsApp me privately, to say that the information is valuable information, and they are going to be coming to the ministry as well to apply for the grant funding. So we want to thank you for your time. We know you've been busy. Thank you for spending this time with us this evening and for giving us this vital information. So just that's your closing remarks, one minute or less.
I just want to thank you and thank your host for having me. All information that relates to our farming sector and our agricultural sector, encouraging the young people to come forward and take responsibility for food production is very plausible. The government continues to work in the best interest of food and nutrition security for our country. And I just want to encourage the farmers, encourage our stakeholders to continue to pay attention, because there's lots in store that you can benefit, and agriculture is a viable career path. I always tell people, I am a farmer by profession first. Simply put.
That is true. Thank you, my brother. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. And folks, we want to thank you for listening and being with us the last hour and a half or so. Stay tuned for next Tuesday when we continue discussions of this magnitude. Probably minus Senator Hisler, but we'll see how that goes. Have a wonderful evening.
It has been a good night. Blessed night, everybody. God bless.
God bless.